Congresswoman Laurel, she's a member of the House Judiciary, Homeland Security, and Administration Committee. She's also on the Trump Task Force. And Congresswoman, I just want to first get your reaction and give us an update on what is happening in your area in Florida.
What you were just seeing is a really important thing to understand about Milton. This was not a storm that just affected the coastal communities. It has been absolutely devastating to many of our inland communities, including mine, because of the tornado activity and also the flooding. In my area, we have seen historic flooding, major thoroughfares absolutely underwater. Some of the suburban and rural communities that surround the Tampa Bay area are absolutely uninhabitable. So to this point, our local law enforcement and firefighters have been going door by door, doing water rescues, making sure right now that we're just getting every resident to safety. And there will be a very long process of recovery, both those residences and also just right now, the immediate need of food and shelter and making sure we're getting everybody to safety. So this has been a very significant weather event really across our state. And I know the entire Florida delegation is very committed to making sure that we do everything we need to do to help our state and help our residents recover.
Well, I want to get your comments on FEMA then, because President Biden and DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas are pleading for more funding. And this was for FEMA. They said this yesterday. Watch.
I think the Congress should be coming back and moving on the emergency needs immediately, and they're going to have to come back after the election as well, because this is going to be a long haul for total rebuilding. It's going to take several $1 billion.
We have the resources to respond to the immediate needs of individuals impacted by Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton and the associated, and it's very important to remember, the tornadoes associated with the hurricane. That being said, we will need additional funds, and we implore Congress, when it returns, to in fact fund FEMA as is needed.
So earlier in the week, 8 days into the fiscal year, the federal government had already spent nearly half the disaster relief allocated for the next 12 months. FEMA is going to be forced to restrict spending unless Congress approves additional funding. But House Speaker Mike Johnson said he does not plan to reconvene the House before the election. Congresswoman, I want to get your reaction to this, in particular, because the question here is, obviously they're saying that there's enough funding to go to cover these two hurricanes, Helene and Milton. Do you think that FEMA right now, today, is doing an effective job in Florida?
So from a logistics and response perspective, yes. So one thing about living in Florida is, unfortunately, we are very accustomed to dealing with severe weather. So our emergency operations personnel, our folks who work round the clock, year round on making sure that we're prepared for disasters, know how to collaborate with FEMA. They know what assets we needed staged here to do an effective response. Governor DeSantis works very closely with FEMA. I know I have heard from the White House every day in the lead up and since the storm. So I think in that sense, in the assets on the ground and response perspective so far, it's been very good. Of course, we're going to continue to watch that and make sure that it stays that way. With respect to funding, there is enough funding to be responding to the immediate need. But I know I stand ready, absolutely, so do my colleagues in Florida, to go back to Washington, D.C. The minute that it is needed. If they do need more funding, we are absolutely ready to do that to make sure that we can continue, not just here in Florida, but also the people in North Carolina who are still suffering. We need to make sure that our federal government is providing the disaster response that's needed.
Okay. Before you go, I do want to get your take on what's happening with the Trump investigation. More whistleblower accounts surrounding that assassination attempt in the investigations. Josh Hawley says the Secret Service is trying to hide the protection level provided to former President Trump. Claims the agency blocked DHS auditors access from certain campaign events to hide alleged security shortfalls. You're on that task force. I do want to get your thoughts on this before you go.
I am. So I know that since the original assassination attempt, the Secret Service has significantly enhanced the assets that are surrounding President Trump. And while I recognize that certainly there's a need to perhaps not share publicly exactly what they're doing because we don't want to inform our adversaries. It is vital that they share that with these committees in Congress that are conducting oversight, because it's not just number one job is making sure that President Trump and all of their other protectees are safe right now. But number two is making sure that we fix what's broken at Secret Service, that there is accountability, and that we make any sort of structural changes or protocol changes that we can get in and figure out what was broken at Secret Service that allowed this to happen so that we can fix it going forward. So to the extent that they're not being forthcoming with the IG, with auditors, with congressional committees, that absolutely has to stop, because that's the only way we are going to fix this going forward.
All right, Congresswoman, thank you.
Great to see you.
All right, good luck. Please, good luck to our thoughts with everybody, obviously, in Florida. I know you're going to have a long weekend ahead. Thank you, Congresswoman. We'll be right back, everybody.